So today's session is a live tutorial, and the topic is uploading data to Open Supply Hub. This session is specifically taught for data contributors who either have already uploaded or plan to upload larger lists, which are data files with more than 10 or 20 facilities. As you probably know, larger lists may pose more challenges in terms of data quality and formatting because the size of the data is larger. And today we will go through a few rules and tips to make the process as smooth as possible. As I said before, we will be recording the session, so you can watch it again later. This is who you will meet today. I am Francesca Romano, the Customer Success Manager at Open Supply Hub, and I will be leading this session today. And with me today, I also have a few members of our data team. So Vanessa Watson is the data team manager. Susan Dong is our data intern, and then Ethan Mulstein is our data moderator. They will be available to help with Q&A, answering questions in the chat, and they will also share useful links as we go through the presentation. This is today's agenda. I will do my best to cover all the content within the first 30 minutes of the presentation. And then the second 30 minutes are optional, so you can stay if you have time, and they will be dedicated to a live Q&A. Please note that in the Q&A, we won't be able to deep dive on individual submissions. So we'll go through a quick introduction about sharing data on Open Supply Hub, and then we will talk about the template, the data points, best practices for setting up an account. We will have an exercise that we will do together, and then cover what happens after you upload your data. So first, a quick introduction. Many of you probably already know Open Supply Hub and you work with us. We are a nonprofit organization which is powering the transition to safe and sustainable supply chains with the world's most complete, open, and accessible map of global production. Our platform shows where global production locations are and also who is connected to them. Our data is also available to anyone to search and also to contribute to Open Supply Hub. Why are we doing this? Because we do believe that open data opens doors. So it enables transparency, collaboration, innovation for the benefit of people and planet. Really, the power of Open Supply Hub lies in transforming messy, diverse, and inconsistent data set into structure, a data set that is made freely available to everyone. But really, we can't do this on our own. We do rely on contributors like yourselves to build and keep this data set alive. This is why over time, we have developed a set of rules and requirements to make it easier to create a better data set for everyone. And that's what we will view in detail today. So before we jump into the data upload process, let's look at the big picture. Where does your data go after you upload it to Open Supply Hub? So your data becomes available for anyone to do different things. For example, they might use it to find overlaps between different data sets and look for potential collaborators. Or they might use it to streamline their communication with their suppliers if they are a brand, for example, by having the suppliers claim their profiles. They can also use it to standardize their data and also exchange data with others using a unique identifier for each location. So after you upload the data, each production location that you have submitted will receive a unique identifier, which is called OSID, and also a dedicated profile on our website, where the data that you and other contributors as well have uploaded is displayed. This is what the production location profile looks like. At the top, you'll find the company name, the OSID, and then there will be a location of the facility plotted on the map. Then if you scroll down the page, you will see additional information, for example, the address, the coordinates, the sector, the parent company, and so on. If you click at the link at the bottom of the page, so here, you will actually see the list of everyone who has contributed data for this specific location, which you see here on the right. If you click on a contributor name, so any of these purple listed here, it will open their contributor profile page, which has more information about the contributor. We will talk more about the contributor profile and how you can use it later. So one more thing before we jump into the process, I wanted to make sure that you are all aware that our timelines for processing lists have changed from the beginning of 2025. On this slide, you can see the new timelines. They do vary depending on the size of your list. And note that if you are an embedded map user, we will continue to review your data within 5 days as before. If you want to learn more about why we made those changes, you can check the link that Susan just put in the chat. Okay, now you are here because you want to upload data to Open Supply Hub, so let's get started. The first thing that you need to do is get the right template. This is very important. You can download the Open Supply Hub Excel template directly from our website. There is a guide which is called Preparing Data for Upload. You can also find the link in the chat. And here you will see a button with a link to download the Excel template. And remember that only data uploaded using this specific template can be processed. So just click on it and easily download it. So this is what the template looks like. It's fairly simple. There is a list of data points that you need to provide. Here are a few tips to make sure that your file submission is accepted. First of all, make sure not to modify any of the column headers that you see here at the top of the file. These include even very small changes, for example, accidentally capitalizing one of the words. Just double check before you upload. And also removing or adding any of the columns. So you need to use this exact same template. If you use formulas, for example, to format your data, make sure to remove them before you upload. Check that the size of the file is maximum 5 megabytes and save your file in Excel format. That this is the only one that we can accept. So once you have your template ready, you will need to fill in your data. Now we are going to spend a little bit of time talking about all the data points that you will need. There are two groups of data points, required and optional. These are the required data points. It means that you must enter this data for each location that you want to upload. The sector and product time is not strictly required, but we highly recommend including the sector value. This is because if you want your facilities to be searchable on Open Supply Hub, filtering under the sector drop-down menu, this sector needs to have a value for it. And then the second group is optional data points. So for these ones, if you do not have the data, it's okay to leave a cell empty. Make sure not to use an A or any other type of filler text. So now let's look at each data point a bit more in detail. The first required one is country. As I said before, this is the country in which the production location is located. So the country name must be in English. An easy check to do is to look at the ISO standard list of country names and make sure that your countries are matching the ones listed there. Of course, the country must match the address. And then, for example, speaking of ISO standard, you should list Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan as country names for this location because these are the ISO standard country names. Here is an example. So in the first line, you see a facility from Brazil. The country is spelled using the Portuguese spelling, but actually this does not match the ISO standard. So if you look in the ISO list of countries, you will see that Brazil is spelled with Z. So it might be tricky because it's small differences, but we always recommend to check. And in the second line, there is an example of a facility or production location where the address does not match the country. So you can see the address is in Barcelona, which is Spain, but the country is India. So make sure that the country in this case is also Spain. This can be an issue if you have a lot of data that you maybe have combined from different sources. And so it's always useful to do a final sense check to make sure that everything matches. The second required data point is the name. This is the name of the production location. So here include incorporation details if you have them. Important point is that only Roman alphabet characters are accepted. So these are, for example, English, Portuguese, Turkish, French, Italian. Any name in non-Roman characters must be translated into Roman or English equivalent. So for example, characters from the Chinese alphabet, Japanese, Arabic must always be converted to the English or Roman alphabet equivalent. This is because the Open Supply Hub platform is not multi-language, so it would not be possible to search using non-Roman alphabet terms. And here you can see an example of what I was just describing. So in this case, the same facility is listed twice. In the first case, the name is spelled using Chinese characters, and the same rule is valid for address. The way that you should enter this production location is actually translating the name of the company and also all the complete address into English characters. As an opposite example, this facility from Turkey has some Turkish alphabet characters, but this is totally fine to upload as is. Third required data point is the address, and this is the street address of the production location. This field is actually very important. When your list is uploaded to Open Supply Hub, we have an algorithm that will compare each facility in your list to all the facilities that we already have in the database. Facilities that have incomplete addresses are more difficult to match and can generate duplicates, for example. We also use Google Map for geocoding, which means assigning GPS coordinates to an address. And then the more complete your address is, the more accurate the GPS location will be, and also the positioning on the map. So make sure that the address includes the street number, street name, name of the city, and zip code if it's applicable. Follow local address convention if possible. Always use single commas to separate each component of the address. And then same as name, only Roman alphabet characters. So here are some examples of addresses. This is the same location entered in different configurations. The first address you can see is very long and has a lot of repeated elements. So Dar es Salaam is repeated, Dhaka even is repeated multiple times. So here, make sure to avoid repetition and also make sure to order the elements following the local convention if possible. The second address instead is very short and has very limited information. So you can see there is only zip code and name of the city and the country. So this is an address that will be very difficult for us to process and match and also geolocate. It will not be accurate at all. And we will be asking you to provide also the street number and the street name. The last one is an example of using many different types of separators. You can see there is a semicolon here, multiple commas, a period. So for this one, make sure instead to use commas for everything. This can happen if you are combining maybe data from different columns. So also make sure to do like a quick search for any separators that you know might be in there. A couple more guidelines on the address is, so very long address are not accepted. The maximum number of characters is 200. So this usually happens if you have a lot of unnecessary details of repetition. So make sure to clean up your address. And then separate plots, units, or buildings into different line items. And I will show you what I mean in this example. So in this example, the first line is showing a location which has multiple plots, and they're listed all together in the same cell. So see for plot 14, 15, 16, and so on. Our recommendation is to split them up. So each line item will actually represent only one plot or building. So if possible, make sure to do this when you have multiple plots in the same address. And then lastly, the last highly recommended value is the sector and product type. This field actually is kind of special because it contains two separate data points. One is the sector and one is the product. So after your data is uploaded, these two data points will actually be split up. So any value that is matching our list of supported sector values that you should definitely check out in the chat will be listed under the sector field of the production location profile that I showed earlier. And then all the other values will go under the product field. For this one, we really recommend entering at least one sector value for each location. If you have more than one sector value, you are welcome to enter them. Just make sure to use a comma or a vertical bar to separate multiple entries. We do not accept other types of separator. Yeah, that's all. And then here is a quick example of what I was talking about. In this example, apparel is the sector for this facility, and then the product types are shirts and jackets. So after you upload these, they will actually be split up. Apparel will be going under the sector field, shirts and jackets will go under the product field. The correct separator to use is shown in the second line, the one highlighted in green, and is a vertical bar. Alternatively, you could be using a comma, but for example, a slash, like in the first line, highlighted in red, would not be acceptable. Now let's quickly look at the optional data points. The first one is facility type, processing type. This is similar to the sector and product field, meaning that it also contains two separate data points. The facility type is actually the type of production location itself. So for example, office, headquarters, warehousing, raw material processing, and similar. The processing type is actually the type of activity that takes place in the production location. So it could be assembly, coating, packaging, and so on. For apparel sector, we do have a taxonomy that can be followed to fill in this specific data field. Because this is an optional data point, if you do not have information, you can just leave the cell empty and just upload the file as is. So what is the difference between sector product type and facility processing type? I know these fields are often confused and can be swapped in the submissions that we receive, so I wanted to spend some time going through them. Looking at an example. This is an example from the electronics sector. So we have sector product type. The sector represents like a large grouping of companies which have a similar business activity. In our case, the sector will be electronics. The product is the specific object or part that is being produced in that location. In our example, is headphones. And then facility type and processing type. The facility is the type of location itself, like when we're talking about the physical location. In this example, it's a final product assembly facility. And then lastly, the processing type is actually the activity that takes place at that facility. You can ask yourself, what are workers doing there? And in this example, it could be wiring or soldering pieces together. This is an example for the apparel sector. I'm giving away what the product is because the socks are already there. But for example, sector, as I said, is apparel, and product is, for example, socks. Facility type is the type of production location. So in this case, it's a textile or material production facility. And then the processing type is the actual activity that happens there. So in our example, it could be knitting the socks. Last couple of data points are number of workers, which is fairly straightforward. The only important thing to keep in mind is to use only numbers, so raw values or ranges. Do not use any words or letters in this field. The last one is the parent company. So this is the name of the company or manufacturing group which owns the production location. And the rules here are very similar to the name of the production location. Just if you don't have it, you can leave it empty. Okay, so there was a lot of information. Thank you for listening through. I hope that was useful. Actually, though, the data, so the data points in your list are important, but they're not the only public information that users of Open Supply Hub will see. So here are a few tips of how you can look good as a contributor on Open Supply Hub. The first one is your contributor account, contributor profile. So when you register your account on Open Supply Hub, you are actually providing information that will be shown publicly on your contributor profile. As I showed earlier, users can access your contributor profile from any of the production locations that you have contributed to Open Supply Hub. So in this case, make sure to fill the description of your organization, provide a website link, and provide in general a good overview to explain who you are as a data contributor. These are two examples of what contributor profiles look like. There is one for a certification scheme and one for a brand. And you can see that they have provided a description, a link to their website, and also what type of organization they are. You can edit this information at any moment in your OS Hub account under the settings. So we do recommend you go in there and make sure that your contributor profile is complete. And then another important piece is the name of your list. So you might have seen if you uploaded data that when you upload a list, you are asked to provide a list name and a list description. The list name will be visible on our website in the contributor list drop-down menu. You can see it here on the right. So best practices are include your organization name and also the time frame that the list refers to. Try to use this field also to describe what is your relationship to the facilities that you are uploading. So it could be your supplier list. If you are like an organization running programs, it could be the list of program participants, for example. You can also, if you want, split your list to identify, for example, different tiers of suppliers or different programs that you have been running. You can see a very good example here of a brand that has used split lists and list names to clearly identify the different tiers of their suppliers, which is really nice. Okay, now let's do a quick practice round together. I have a template filled in with production location data. I hope you can see it. It's not quite ready for upload. There are actually 9 different errors. I wanted to ask you if you can spot all of them, and feel free at this point to either raise your hand if you want to speak or put your suggestion in the chat. Can you see anything wrong with this file and what should we correct before we can upload it? Don't be shy. Okay, I see one. Address is capitalized. This one is very good. It's kind of difficult to spot, but if you go at the very top, one of the headers is capitalized, and this is one that is usually kind of difficult to catch. So make sure to double check before you upload. And then there is an address not in English, yes, which is this one. You can see there is an address which is using Chinese characters. So this one should be translated into English. Yes, and then Carmen say not all characters are in the Roman alphabet, which is totally correct. And then Marianna, there is a slash instead of a vertical bar. Yes, that's correct. Exactly here, under facility type, processing type, they're using a slash to separate the elements. Yeah, you guys are doing great. And then Emily found a duplicate. Good job. That was a bit difficult to catch, I guess, but there is actually a facility which is duplicate. And you can see that there's almost all the same information. The name is very similar. The address is exactly the same. So one recommendation that I didn't mention earlier is make sure to deduplicate your list before you submit it. And then Nuzat is saying there is a processing type in the sector column. Yes, and this is something that happens quite a lot. As I said before, it's very common to switch these two columns. They're a bit difficult sometimes to recognize. NA in parent company, yes, Hannah. So here somebody put NA in the parent company because probably they didn't have this data. So what they should have done instead is just leave the cell empty. And then Andrew, yes, great catch. So there is a non-numeric value in the number of workers. Perfect. So here it says more than 2,000, but we do not accept any words in there. So you should use a symbol instead if possible. Okay. So you see there is one more from Emily. From Aroma Bay candles, the address will be more specific. Yes, there is a facility here, Aroma Bay candles, where the address has very limited information. So that would be really hard for us to identify and to geolocate. And then there is, yes, incomplete address in the Vietnam facility. Cool. I think you probably found all of them. And I know there is like quite a few Open Supply Hub team members here who like are a bit advantaged. I think maybe the only one that was not found is the multiple plots. So this entry here has a lot of different plots in the same cell. So ideally, you'll want to split them up in different line items. Then everything else, good job. You have fun, so great job. So after you would have found all these problems, made the updates to your file. Now you're ready to upload it to Open Supply Hub. So what happens next? So you have uploaded your list. Immediately after you upload, you will see this screen. This means that the list is being processed. It can take 5 to 10 minutes usually. It doesn't mean that the upload has been successful yet. It's a little bit confusing maybe. So make sure to come back after a few minutes to check on the status of your list. You can either refresh this page, clicking on refresh, or you can just close it and come back later. If you decide to come back later, here is how you can find your list again. Just go to your account and then go to this section called My List. Here you will see the complete list of all the data files that you have uploaded so far. Click on the list that you want to check, and then you can open it and see the details. If you see this message when you open your list, it means that your list upload has failed. So you'll see this red error message. This is likely because there is an issue with the template that you have used. That's why at the beginning I said the template is very important. So you can check what file you have uploaded if clicking on this button, download submitted file, so you can confirm that you have used the right template, that maybe you haven't edited any of the columns. And then in this case, you will need to fix your file and then upload it again to Open Supply Hub. In all the other cases, if there are no issues with the template, you should see these, and you will be able to see the current status of your list. So in this example, my list is in pending status, which means that the Open Supply Hub team is currently reviewing it, and this is related to the review timelines that I shared earlier in the presentation. These are all the possible statuses that you might see for your list. So I spoke about pending. Two important ones are approved. This means that your list has been approved by us. The data is live on the website. It is still possible that some facilities have been removed. This could be due to any of these formatting errors that we already spoke about. You can still find them filtering by error or removed. And you can, if you want to fix them, you will need to update your file and then upload it again to Open Supply Hub. If you see a status that says rejected, it means that you need to review and re-upload the list. So we have a feedback phase if we find a high number of data quality or formatting issues. In this case, we will guide you to make the updates to your file and then re-upload it. But ideally, if you followed all the instructions that I've given so far, you should not really encounter this problem. So what if your list requires revisions? First of all, look for an email from our data team in your inbox because we would have sent you some instructions. Follow the instructions on the email to correct your file and then re-upload it. And we also have a useful guide, which is called Fixing Data Upload Errors, which is linked in the chat, which has a lot of guidance and tips for how to fix them. If you need additional help, you can always contact support. And our support team can also help and guide you through. We also offer some additional options for data contributors with large data sets. The first one is a data cleanup service. So this can be useful if you have unformatted, messy data, but large files, and you do not have enough time to clean them up yourself. So we would take your file, clean it up, standardize it for you before it's uploaded. This service is available for a fee. So you can always contact us at info@opensupplyhub.org if you want more information. The second option is the API connection. This is useful if you plan to contribute data on a regular basis and you would like to automate your contribution process a little bit. So with the API, you can automatically upload data, but also pull data if you want to grow your data set, or you can use our deduplication algorithm as well. For API, you can find more information and also pricing options on our website. And lastly, now you have uploaded your data, everything is done, but how can you make the most of it? Sharing your production locations is a great first step in opening up your data, but actually there is much more that you can gain from working with our platform. And I will show you two examples. The first example is claims. So facility owners or senior managers can actually claim their facility profiles on Open Supply Hub. If their claim is accepted, they do get access to a complete, credible and confirmed profile. They will have a green banner and a claim badge on our website, so they can be easily identified. If they want, they can also add more information about their operations to enrich the profile. You can encourage your suppliers or your members to claim their profiles. We do really recommend this, and we do have a sample text that you can use if you want to contact them. And then another way that I wanted to share to make the most of your data is the embedded map. This allows you to basically display your production locations on a branded map that can live on your company's website. The map is connected with our database, so it will upload automatically whenever new data is uploaded. You don't need to do anything once it's set up. It does offer a very nice visual and interactive way to openly display your data and also meet transparency benchmarks. So thank you so much for following and participating so far. I hope this presentation was helpful, and hopefully it sets you up for a successful upload. As said before, If you encounter issues or if you are not sure if your file is ready for upload, always feel free to contact support. We are always happy to help you check your file or make revisions. So once you upload it, is ready to go and you don't need to work too much on it. So thank you so much. Feel free to stay around for the Q&A session. And if you have questions, feel free to add them in the chat or raise your hand if you would like to ask directly.